Okay, let's run.
Welcome into another episode of Real Friends, where real friends sit down and talk about real good, well, sometimes real good movies, but we talk about real movies. That's to be sure. That was Nick Cage setting the scene for you, as we will be reviewing Gone in 60 Seconds in our conversation today, because today's theme, let's go.
Heist movies.
Heist movies. And we are really running the gamut as far as time is concerned. We're starting in back in the day with the original Italian Job. Then we get a little 90s action with Heat, and then we're going to finish the cherry on top. Will be Gone in 60 Seconds. But welcome in. I am your host, T-Bob Hebert. If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're joining us again, whatever, welcome again. This is my co-host, Nathan Velasquez.
Hello.
Here's our resident movie, definitely the most knowledgeable as far as movies are concerned. And behind the glass, working the production side tonight,
Joseph Rodriguez.
we got Monsieur Joseph Rodriguez. Yeah, probably that's not the correct accent, obviously. But anyway, if you're noticing, Rivers is not with us tonight.
On our first show that isn't a Halloween edition.
I know. It's a bummer. She had to miss the show for just some unfortunate personal reasons. But look, we love Rivers. She will absolutely be back. So no worries about that. The only problem is this show, we're just like probably going to be way less nice to stare at and just like a little less nice overall, because Rivers really brings
she
out
usually
the best in
brings a
us.
good angle, a good female angle that I sometimes haven't gotten, so it's going to be a shame.
I agree. And it's probably going to be needed tonight because we're going to be talking about some pretty masculine movies.
Yeah.
But we must push ahead. Before we do, though, new segment in the show, real quick, couple minutes here at the beginning. We're going to talk about a couple movies, or what have you seen at the theater over the last couple of weeks. We're going to keep it spoiler free, but basically, would you recommend it or not? Nathan, have you been to the movies, my friend?
Yes, I have seen, I guess the two I've seen recently that I'd recommend is Murder on the Orient Express, the remake.
Yeah.
With, it's got everyone. Kenneth Branagh, Johnny Depp, Judi Dench, Penelope Cruz, Michelle Pfeiffer, Josh Gad. It's got a gigantic list of people. It's a lot of fun. It's very nostalgic. The sweeping camera. It feels like Murder on the Polar Express. It's so much fun. It is a lot of fun. And if you want something that is still vastly entertaining but less fun, is Killing of a Sacred Deer with Nicole Kidman and Colin Farrell. It is terrifying. It wasn't, the day after seeing it, I was much more terrified of the movie than I was while watching it. It still stayed with me.
What movie is this? One more time.
Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Killing of a Sacred Deer. So you would recommend both movies?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
interesting.
There's only one theater in Louisiana showing Killing of a Sacred Deer.
I was about to say, I've
in
never
New
even
Orleans.
heard of it. So it's like a little, see, this is why we bring Nathan on. He brings the actual
Yeah, it's from
movie knowledge.
the director who did The Lobster. Did you see or hear about that?
I watched The Lobster. It was exceedingly odd, but like good enough where it kind of hooked me in, and I ended up watching the entire thing.
Yeah.
Colin Farrell. So him and Colin Farrell, obviously, teaming up there.
Yeah.
For me, I too saw Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, what'd you think?
Unfortunately, even though I really enjoyed what I saw of it, we do a morning show, me and Nathan do. I had not slept that day all day. I went to the movies at night at 7:30. It was so comfortable in that seat. And I feel like I'm officially becoming an old man. I'm becoming my father because I slept pretty much through the last 3/4 of the movie.
I did. There is a noticeable slump like 2/3 of the way through the movie. But I still had fun.
It was really, look, what I saw of it, I really enjoyed. I was into it at the beginning. Like I said, I think it is not really a product of the movie. I think I am becoming old. I was already tired. I was so tired. I had one of the most awkward theater experiences in my entire life where my go-to order of medium popcorn, large Coke Icy. So I'm filling up my Icy and I'm white sputtering up the popcorn.
Lord.
I just snagged some drink. I just absentmindedly off of the popcorn stand and started drinking it. It was like a Diet Coke. I'm like, what is this? And then some guys just looking at me like, dude, what in the hell are you doing? And I look down at my hands and I have 2 drinks. I have my Icy in one hand and then I have some random stranger's drink that I never met. And that's the one that I was just drinking. And I didn't know what to do. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he just gave me a disgusted look, snagged his drink back and walked away.
That's not good.
Didn't say a word though. Like, what was the correct call there? Do you think that he should have demanded that I pay for it? I was willing to pay for it.
Just give it to you.
Yeah.
Just like,
It's not worth it.
oh, just give it to me. No, see, he took it back, which I would have done too. I'm not just going to give it away.
I would have just enjoyed the giving you a what the hell, man look.
Yeah, I mean, that's
would have enjoyed
basically
that.
what he did. He had his kids with him, and I had like a hoodie on. I think I looked probably pretty like weird and scary. So if you're out there, man, I apologize for drinking your Diet Coke. I really did not mean to. I was very tired, so I fell asleep during Orient Express. One movie that I did not fall asleep during, saw it at a more reasonable time when I was well rested, was Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, I didn't even. Yeah.
Did you see it as well?
Oh yeah, I love that. It was so funny. It
Lot
was
of fun,
incredibly
dude.
refreshing for a Marvel movie.
Way funnier than I thought it would be. Look, I was getting very tired of the Marvel movies, and Homecoming and Ragnarok have really been home runs, man. They've been really fun. More fun. than
Guardians
they
was
kind
also
of have
this
any
year.
right to
Guardians
be.
2 was this year as well.
That's true.
They've
But
been fun this year.
I loved Guardians 1 to the point where I went as Star-Lord. I
Yeah.
really like Guardians 2, but I think because it was kind of dealing with the burden of expectation. Like Guardians 1 had that advantage of coming out of nowhere for me. And I'm like, oh my God, this movie was great. What is this? Whereas Guardians 2 was a bit more of the same. So I enjoyed it, but I don't know. I thought that Thor Ragnarok was excellent on a lot of levels. I like how they leaned into the sci-fi. Like you said, way funnier. I also...
Jeff Goldblum made it for me.
Yes, dude. Yes. I've heard some complaints about Goldblum's character. I think,
No.
And I was
Oh,
super
no.
skeptical going in. And we don't want to get into spoilers of this, but you should see Ragnarok probably. It's pretty good if you're into it. But yeah, Goldblum's excellent. And I feel like they handled the character of Thor well, like in a more kind of honest to the mythological character Thor, but I think with some nicer kind of human edges, because like Norse Thor never takes anything seriously. He's basically like the biggest high school jock ever, like, oh, I just want to drink and like fight stuff. And then they've basically taken that character, put it in the movie, but with a little more emotion. He's a little nicer, a little more heroic, but I think it really works.
Yeah,
So
that was good.
That was
I would
great.
recommend seeing that in theaters.
All right, so there you go. That's what we've seen this week. Now, to get into the movies that we will be reviewing today, our heist movies, and we are going to start. Nathan, when did this movie come out?
Yeah.
How far back are we going?
This is 1969.
1969.
The first Italian Job. So this is a young Michael Caine,
Yeah.
long before he was Alfred. And it's very simple plot. Very simple. There's a large amount of gold that a lot of very important, the British are trying to steal a lot of gold from Italy. And yeah, so the main thing, everyone knows the thing about the Mini Coopers, they have to cause a giant traffic jam.
Yeah.
So that they can use the Mini Coopers to maneuver their way out of the traffic jam.
And I can't remember what the city is. It's some Italian city.
Turin.
Yeah, look, this movie was way funnier than I was expecting. I didn't know what to expect. So I had never seen, and I don't know if you had, I had never seen like a kind of campy 60s movie.
Oh yeah. This is my favorite of them. This is one of my absolute favorite movies. It's just so much fun watching it all the time. It feels, just talking about Thor, I think even though they aren't always telling jokes, everything feels light all the time. And it feels like there's a sense of ease about how just watching them pull off all the tricks is fun. It's a ridiculous movie. Like the very fact, I guess we both kind of address this, how they get this footage all the time that they're watching, this black and white footage of instructions that they're going to do. And if you really think about it, that's so strange that they're setting up all these screenings of this footage that they're watching.
And how did they get some of those shots? Like originally, like they're in the very vaults that they're trying to steal from. They have all the, so I was kind of, but you know what? It's like you said though. I don't think this movie really bothers itself with realism necessarily.
Yeah.
Like it's a cool setup. As far as, and it was probably pretty kind of what's what I'm looking for, like tech advanced for the time, like late breaking technology when they're talking about the Turing machine and the first computer and using it to make the lights go haywire and cause the biggest traffic jam in the world, and that's how you're gonna steal it and escape.
Speaking of that, I loved about Professor Peach. The whole storyline of Professor Peach was one of my favorite. That makes me laugh every time whenever they figure out what his perversion is. It's a great movie. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy myself every time I see it.
So you mentioned a young Michael Caine in this. Michael Caine is the man in this movie. I've never really, so this is a bit of an admission on myself. I've never really seen a lot of the original James Bonds. I've never, I say
really?
a lot, no, like none of them. Like I've never been none of them, I don't think. Actually, besides the snippets that you catch on TV, the only James Bonds that I've seen, unfortunately, are the Pierce Brosnan ones. The ones when I was younger. So I don't know.
Whenever he goes from a car to a parachute to then skiing down a mountain.
I've seen that scene.
Yeah, okay.
I've seen that. So, there's famous scenes, I think, through pop culture. You just kind of gather them through osmosis, but I've never sat down and watched them all. And so I think I missed a lot of kind of classic spy movies along the way. But when I see this, I can't help but think about the stuff that inspired things like The Kingsman, which has come out recently, and Austin Powers. Like, I get very similar vibes from Michael Caine and from The Italian Job as I have in these more recent movies. And dude, Caine is an absolute womanizer. I was trying to figure this out. Is he ever on screen with a woman that he doesn't sleep with in that movie?
I don't think so.
You would have to almost do a frame by frame analysis of it.
Yeah, that's why it is a shame that Rivers isn't here. I knew whenever I saw it, I thought this would be a point of contention probably, because it is. Every woman that is in the movie is just
throwing themselves at him.
Yeah, it's like whenever he walks into the room and it's just like 15 women looking at him. And
when he's fresh out of jail, so Michael Caine gets out of jail, he puts together this kind of Ocean's 11 type of crew.
Yeah, ragtag team.
Yeah, gets together a ragtag team, and then they go to do this heist. And that's kind of the theme of the movie. What did you think about the actual heist and the action scenes there?
Oh, and that's one thing I love. I love the action scenes, and I love the attention to detail. One reason that I love heist movies is because I feel, just watching it from a perspective of like how they made the movie, the attention, like the mechanics of just seeing like a good heist movie feels kind of like like a scene in a movie wherever someone like flips a switch and a ball goes around this little machine.
Yes,
and
like a Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah, exactly like that.
It's a very good way of thinking.
It's a lot of fun watching the mechanics of whatever the heist is take place. And I think we'll talk later on how some heist movies fall down, but I think that it's usually on how well they execute the actual heist, the mechanics of the heist. It's the most fun. And I think that one of my favorite scenes is whenever the Mini Coopers go on top of the building.
Oh, it's
and
excellent.
The cops follow them and then they go right on back down. It's the amount of detail, I think.
And all of the Mini Cooper driving scenes were excellent, whether they're driving downstairs through waterways, creating, the whole concept of creating the traffic jam and then using these very specialized, like my sister had a Mini Cooper in high school. These things are not that far removed from go-karts in terms of how maneuverable they are. You can spin them around nearly in a circle without going anywhere. So taking advantage of what these cars can do to film some pretty cool scenes is excellent. So this scene that you're seeing on the screen right here, what I wish I had a little more history knowledge as far as the movies are concerned. Like, is this the first time this was done? Like the smaller car driving up the ramp into the larger car? Because I feel like that's basically become a heist staple.
No, there were a lot of French heist movies that used to do this beforehand. But I would have to think
Nathan actually knew that answer. Nice job.
This would have to be. No, I think it would have had to be done before. I'm not sure. Maybe it was one of the first mainstream movies to do this type of thing. These big set pieces. But even still, it works. It works.
Oh, it works wonderfully.
It's so much fun.
And so even when they're doing these very intense kind of action scenes, though, and we'll talk about Mr. Bridges. He is, or Mr. Bridger. He's maybe my favorite part of the entire movie. But the whole time that they're in these like very intense action scenes, and there's a lot of stunts being done. You said the movie feels light all the way throughout, and I think that's highlighted by these little details, little touches that I really enjoyed. Like at one point, thre're driving away, and the guy reaches his arm out and steals a chicken that's been cooked, right? Or Michael Caine, they drive through a wedding in their Mini Coopers, and of course, he takes the time to like lean out the window and yell "good luck." And I think that it just keeps that kind of 60s camp vibe all the way throughout.
Yeah, and I think one important thing about this movie almost is like right now, superhero movies are kind of like they're the big staple of cinema today, and we're coming out of them being serious all the time. They're getting a lot more fun. But I think at this time, this was like one of the first huge movies that started having a lot of fun at the movies. And I think that I think sometimes we can take for granted how tough it can be to make a movie be that much fun and just light, fun, and soft-hearted. And
no, I completely agree. Something that I thought was a bit interesting about this, and maybe this was in pursuit of that exact tone, were there any guns in this movie? From what I'm remembering?
I do not think there were.
Other than the guards. You have this police tank that looks like it has a cannon on top, and it is a cannon, but it's a water cannon, which ends up not being that effective. But I think it's a pretty sharp contrast to the movies that we're going to discuss later, which are filled to the brim with guns, just overflowing with guns. So I thought that was, I don't know if that's a sign of the times, or if maybe even the times were a bit more violent and they were trying to just kind of keep it light and fun. But I did find that interesting. Now, we mentioned the movie being way funnier than I expected. And I don't know, Nathan, if this is what people would consider British humor, but just the interactions, the dialogue, the deadpan kind of nature of how these characters deal with each other and talk to each other, I just found to be absolutely hilarious. And Mr. Bridger, who you saw, is probably the highlight of that for me.
I loved whenever he comes out of having spoken with Charlie in the restroom, and then he reports the fact that someone broke into the hospital.
Yes.
Not the hospital, the prison. This should not be able to happen. And then he goes, the man, who was he? And then he just looks right at him and goes, I've never seen him before in my life. And I thought that was I thought that was very fun. And yeah, that would have to be British humor, I would think.
I mean, he is as like every British stereotype that you think of Mr. Bridger embodies. And yeah, like he got Michael Caine after Michael Caine beats up or breaks into the bathroom. He gets Michael Caine beat up out of principle for breaking into another man's bathroom time, but then is also like, hey, this is, and you see that he's a real criminal at the end though, because he's like, hey, he's actually got a pretty good lead. Maybe we should support him in helping out in getting this job done.
As long as it's for Queen and Country, he'll commit crime if it's for Queen and Country. Which
I thought were some interesting motivations that once again kind of speak to the times. The other heist movies that we're going to talk about today are not at all. I mean, the motivations are much more human, much more greed-based, much more like kind of trying to help your family out based. No, Mr. Bridger didn't have to do this job, like at all. He just chose to because he wanted to get in a shot at the Chinese and the Italians. Maybe just the Italians?
Yeah. No, yeah, I remember they used the Chinese as a motivation because the Chinese were going to be gaining a lot of power. That was one of the main motivators. But yeah, I think, and primarily when you talk about heist movies, I think people usually go, I know I do, usually talk about the Ocean's movies. And I think this is the most of all the movies we'll talk about that is most like the Ocean's movie, where they're just motivated by getting lots of dough.
Now Ocean's 11 is a remake. I was not aware of this.
Yeah.
The new Ocean's 11. So when did the old Ocean's 11 come out?
That was the 60s. I have not seen that.
I'm wondering if it was pre this or post this.
I am almost positive that it was pre this.
Okay, so this could have been this could have been inspired a bit by the original Ocean's 11.
1960. So
oh wow,
9 years before.
Oh man, that might end up in one of our future episodes. Either way, okay. So I guess some final thoughts on the Italian Job 1969 version. I absolutely love the music in this movie.
It is my dream to drive through Europe in a convertible listening to On Days Like These. I love that song.
And then hit a giant bobcat and get dumped off of a cliff.
Maybe not that.
Wait, what? So I got a question that maybe I don't know. I didn't understand. Who were all the people at the very beginning of the movie? As you said, you drive into the European hills, listen to the song, everything's wonderful, it's great. All of a sudden there's a big explosion, a crash, and the bad guy has killed he killed the partner, which later gives the information to go on the heist. But there's like people lining the cliffs around him.
Yeah,
who are those people?
That's the mafia.
Oh,
because remember right before when they're on the way to Italy, Mr. Bridger says, don't forget you'll have the mafia to worry about.
Okay, and so that's just like the most stereotypical guys in suits. Like, hey,
that's
it's the mafia. We roll with like 200 guys everywhere.
That's the one part that. I mean, from a critical standpoint, I don't know why they were there. It kind of works. It's like an interesting little note. I mean, it's kind of funny.
I think it's a bit of like a character's. Yeah, it's over the top, like everything else in this
whenever,
movie.
The head of the mafia leaves, and then they turn around, and then the 20 men in suits holding guns. They had guns. They had guns. They were all gone. Like they were scaling the side of a cliff, and then they've disappeared.
Oh man, so I thought that was pretty interesting. But you're right. The music though in this movie,
yeah, see, they're guns.
Yeah, look at these dudes. What?
This has got to be a little over 10 people, all with automatic rifles, going up against 5 people that are unarmed,
and in the most conspicuous fashion. I mean, not hiding out at all, but it was.
They've got their hats, they've got their black suits, their ties.
Now, is this a more old school form of filmmaking though, Nathan, when I felt like this entire movie was basically narrated through the music? Like every little, much more than now. I feel like nowadays, and it's not always, the new Planet of the Apes actually kind of felt a bit more old school in this way. But it's like there's undercurrent of music throughout the entire thing, and it's kind of accentuating little facial tics and interactions. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it gave a ton of character to the movie. And then
there is one that came out around the same time with Steve McQueen, the Thomas Crown Affair, and both of them, this one has the self-preservation, this is the Self-Preservation Society, where they've got one song, and one might be like a big band singing it, and then you might have like a little piano version of it playing throughout the song, playing throughout the movie. So I guess so. As far as, I don't know about narrating, I don't think...
Well, I guess I just feel like, and I could be wrong in this, but my reaction watching it was that there was just an undercurrent kind of accentuating every single scene in terms of like the overall composition, the musical score. But the song at the end, we are the Self-Preservation Society. That is just excellent.
We should, I guess, real quick before we go on to the next one, the ending.
Yes.
It's a great, and I think I am right in saying that this is where we get the term cliffhanger.
It's got to be. I mean, that's what I was thinking. It is a literal cliffhanger of an ending.
And I love the way that it leaves you. It's funny. The first time I saw this movie years ago, it hurt that this was the ending, but it's so great. And it's so in character for Michael Caine to just look at it. He's like, I've got an idea.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so for those who don't know, at the very end of this movie, they've gotten away. They're driving to the Alps. They're home free. They're good to go. Big time screw up by the bus driver at the end. He's like taking these curves, laughing, just having the best time. And next thing you know, the back of the car skids off of a cliff and it's dangling there, kind of wobbling back and forth. And they have gold and they're trying to figure out what to do. And it never gets solved.
Yeah, just leaves.
The movie just ends with the song
playing. The camera flies away and then you hear, this is the self-preservation.
And it's a literal cliffhanger, and Michael Caine basically said, I got it, boys, right at the end.
So we don't know. We don't know if they make it or if they don't, but I'm sure he had something up his
But he
sleeve.
does. I mean, it's Michael Caine, though, right? I mean, that's where this entire movie's been leading us, is that he absolutely is going to come up with some crazy shenanigan.
Yeah.
It's going to work. They're going to, like, tie their shirts together and lasso it. Who knows what they're going to do, but he's going to solve the problem. And so in that sense, I think it was spot-on ending for this movie, and a brave one. Kind of... Yeah, I imagine it would have to be pretty controversial to the studio when you go to them with that ending.
I looked up, it was not very famous at the time. It did not work in its favor when it first came out, that ending.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of critics were not that happy about that.
The cliff, see, I guess your first experience with the cliffhanger, it's like first person to run through a brick wall, you're going to get a little bloodied up. It's going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, so that was The Italian Job, 1969. I really enjoyed it, dude. I thought it was great. Let's see where it ranks at the end, though. Next up, we got 1995's Heat.
Yeah, Heat, heist movie with a heart.
This
is by
Big Heart.
Michael Mann, who made Public Enemy, Thief, Last of the Mohicans. Did I say Public Enemy? I think I already said
you did say Public Enemy.
Collateral.
Your enemy. How old are you, Nathan?
21.
And your memory's already gone like that? It's terrible.
Yeah, I'm not good with timelines. But it's got, massive cast. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer at a time where that probably wasn't very funny to have Val Kilmer in a movie. John Voight, I guess Natalie Portman, a young Natalie Portman.
Yep.
So the story is pretty much there is a group of, a crew led by Robert De Niro, who's a professional thief, and they take on a heist, and it ends up one of them goes a little trigger happy, and it makes it so that the cops, led by Al Pacino, is on the hunt. And it's just an epic cat and mouse chase, really, between Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Yeah,
and it's about 3 hours long, so it's a long one, but I think it absolutely justifies the length by the end of the movie. The concept that this movie plays with and does an excellent job with, and I mean, it's obvious. I don't think there's anything like revelatory here, but it's that opposite sides of the same coin, right? Yeah. Where Robert De Niro and Al Pacino are actually kind of they're the same type of person. They're single-minded. They are obsessed with what they are doing, with the task at hand. But they were on polar opposite sides of that task, with one
Oh, yeah?
trying to do the jobs and one trying to stop the jobs. And I think that the movie plays into that, and it builds it up throughout, and then it ends in this final epic standoff, which hey, it was great. But one thing that really establishes De Niro's character for me early on is when you see his apartment and and how Spartan it is. I mean, it is sparse. He's got this nice house that has no furniture, right? Val Kilmer makes a point of saying that there's no furniture.
Yeah, and I think that his credo as a character is at least one that has usually stuck with me, and I think that everyone's motivation in this movie fits. It fits so well, and usually with a heist movie, where you have like family getting involved, loved ones, motivations, it can be kind of hammy, kind of cheesy, particularly Robert De Niro's, where he says, like, make sure that you don't ever have anything tying you down that you can't leave in 30 seconds flat. Which, I mean, he's got no furniture in that apartment at all. And in the end, that's kind of what gets him in trouble. Can he actually let this stuff go, or is it tying him down?
And that's where that apartment scene, why I liked so much, is because before we hear him say that, you already know that's like, you already get the idea that that's the mindset that he's operating from, having such a nice house with nothing in it. Al Pacino, on the other hand, seems to try to resemble something that is more of a normal life, or he tries to live something more of a normal life, but he's just kind of failing miserably because he is just as obsessed and driven on the job as is De Niro.
But I think that, like, right smack dab in the middle of the movie, they have that incredible conversation in that cafe where they both pretty much look at each other.
We're gonna get
they say, this is what I do. It takes everything out of me, but at the end of the day, I love doing it, and I'm not gonna, whether it's committing these heists, committing these crimes, or going after guys like you, we're going to put everything else by the wayside and do this for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, so this scene right here between Pacino and De Niro, you have two titans on the screen. You know, two of the biggest names, two great actors going toe-to-toe in what's basically like a cool, tough guy pissing contest. Yeah. They're each trying to feel each other, like who's more committed? Like who's really going to go all the way and see what it takes to get this job done. And in this dinner, what I really like, it sets up the second half of the movie so beautifully because they establish very clear stakes. This will be a battle to the death, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to be willing to go all out if you want to win. And it's a pretty heavy foreshadowing when De Niro basically tells him, if you have me boxed up, like I'll do anything. Like I get dangerous. So watch out.
And it's a perfect like figure eight, because at the beginning they just miss each other, and then they meet in the middle of the movie, and then at the end they don't really meet they do meet at the end, but but
they separate again. Yeah, no, it's like they and then
they cross
the figure
paths.
eight. Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah,
I'm struggling to verbalize that. Okay, before how that original meetup happens, and I did want to highlight this. I really love how Pacino gets on De Niro's trail, because it is just really good police work, right? Like great police work in action. When you see police movies, police TV shows, and they talk about things like shaking the trees, right? Seeing what falls out.
Yeah.
Like this is what they're talking about. All he did, they go to one of their sources. They basically say, look, you got to give us something. We know something's going down. The source, his brother, who is, Joe, help me out, Tone Loc, right?
Tone Loc.
Tone Loc. Oh, man, I'm probably going to get ripped for that one. Yeah, we don't know Tone Loc. But Tone Loc.
I was out of the loop on that one big time.
I recognize him from a couple movies when I'm here, Ace Ventura being the main one. But anyway, so Tone Loc basically says that he knows a guy who he was in jail with. And he saw that guy out of jail, and he asked him what he had going on. And the guy said he had nothing going on, which lets Tone Loc know that there's definitely something going on. And from that, they got a name, Michael Chirito. And that's when the heat is on. That's when Pacino starts sniffing De Niro's trail. And it felt, I don't know if it is realistic. I'm not a police officer, but it felt realistic in how, like, somebody who would have no idea of where to start trying to find this guy, that maybe they could get a bit of a lucky break, and all of a sudden now they're on to him. Now, what I do want to ask you, and I don't know if you know, but how did De Niro know that he was being watched after the heat is on? For those that don't know,
The scene in the like
in the desert, or where they're not in the desert, but they're like out in the middle.
Area?
Yeah, they're out in like a big car, very open space.
Uh-huh.
They're meeting, and you think that Pacino's watching without De Niro knowing. You're like, oh my God, he's got him dead to rights. And then De Niro starts taking pictures of Pacino, basically.
Oh, Robert De Niro. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So is there any movie justification for how De Niro knew that Pacino was there?
I think that they went. I think that it's that they went there just to confirm whether or not they were actually being tailed. Like, I don't think there was really any real reason why they were at that shipyard other than to see, like.
But why did they suspect? Was there any previous interaction that I just overlooked?
No.
Okay.
I think it's all in that scene. Like, there's not like something else beforehand that's a precursor to it.
So it's just De Niro kind of being always prepared, the criminal sixth sense.
Yeah.
Just reinforcing how accomplished he is as a criminal, that you're not going to get him that easily. And to me, it was really effective because, like I said, I'm thinking that Pacino's like already got him. Like, man, he's already got him dead to rights, and then he immediately turns the table on him.
What did I loved the shootout. I mean, there's so many things, there's so many elements in this movie that's kind of like this is almost the Godfather of heist movies. And that shootout, it took like 3 days to get that shootout done. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never heard anything about the filming of it.
It is. I love that. I love that scene so much. Whenever they're going through the city,
it's super violent. It's super well done. It's one of those. You know what I always wonder is when you're watching a movie and the plan is on the verge of working, why do I always get my hopes up like it's gonna work?
Yeah.
Right? Like they're walking out, they got the bags. It's like, oh, they're so close, dude. That's good. They're gonna pull it off. It's all. But if like, no, of course they're not going to. And then there's that tension, and then right at the end, right before they're in the car, all hell breaks loose. Very intense, actually, very violent.
Yeah. And I do enjoy how like the stakes, for instance, in The Italian Job, like those are gigantic. Like they are traveling across the country to get pounds and pounds of gold.
Yes.
To then go through this like festival that's going on. But in this one, like at the beginning, they steal a few $1 million worth of stuff, and it's not, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
It's a pretty greasy move. They steal some basically criminals like government bonds.
Right.
And then try to sell them back to him so he can collect the insurance and still get his bonds back. Exactly. But
the problem is that one of the guys gets trigger happy and he shoots one of the security guards, and that sets this huge thing in motion, which in a movie like The Italian Job, if one person dies off, that's probably not going to be that big of a thing.
Yeah.
But no, as far as the realism in this one works to its favor enormously.
It does have a sort of a clockwork type of feel.
I put Swiss watch in my notes.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, as far as the little, like, when he escapes, the trigger happy guy, so they basically go to kill him in a parking lot. He ends up escaping, and you just know, okay, well, that's obviously going to come back to get him now. Where exactly will that be? And in the end, it's what draws Robert De Niro back in. And this is what's so fascinating to me about De Niro's character is that he spends the entire movie telling you his ethos, telling you how he operates, what dictates his decision-making, and it's all about getting away with it, being free, and never going back to jail, and like you said, being ready to leave in 30 seconds. No emotions. And he had it. He's out. He's gone with the woman. They managed to escape from the failed bank robbery, but revenge in the end ends up drawing him back in, and then he ends up dead for it.
Yeah. Poor guy.
And maybe that's where one of my favorite parts of Heat comes in, is that amidst the action, like the crazy heist scenes with all the shooting, there are some very emotional human moments for nearly all of the characters. And I think that, in my opinion, like, this is what helps it rise above kind of standard action movie stuff. It lends weight to the characters and to their fate. Like the driver who's on parole and he's trying to turn his life around, and he's just at this like shit job with an asshole boss who's like just treating him like absolute dirt. And so, yeah, I understand why he would be willing to risk his parole. And you're kind of cheering for that character. And you see guys like Chirito and Val Kilmer who have kids and families, and Pacino's got this marriage and ends up failing, and because he's so obsessed with the case, and his stepdaughter's being ignored, ends up trying to kill herself. And so you have all this emotional setup that gives this movie a lot of heart, and then in the end it's a pretty depressing ending. There are no winners.
Yeah, even for the cop who gets the guy in the end. And I think that because the heists themselves, the crimes that they're committing, they aren't they aren't really anything innovative in terms of heist movies. But as far as, the questions it poses, as far as like if you're going to be a criminal or if you're going to be this type of cop, then you're going to be setting your life on this like labyrinth type of emotions. It's probably not going to be that great for anybody. And I did think, as far as influences go, I thought that watching it this time, I felt like this was kind of an influence on Christopher Nolan movies. Just like as far as the camera work goes, I noticed some of that.
Whoa, yes.
But also using the genre of a thriller, particularly a crime heist movie, and using that as a starting point to explore all these emotional themes or emotional storylines, and not really focusing on the crime as much.
Well, and like I said, I think that's why it separates itself. That's why it works. It's also why it's 3 hours.
Yeah, and I don't feel the time. I didn't feel the length.
I didn't either, but I don't think that people should go into this. Like, it's kind of an odd pairing with these other two movies, because these other two movies can be very action-oriented. I mean, especially Gone in 6 Seconds, which we're about to talk about in a minute. Whereas this is a bit more of a slow burn, but when it does get going, it explodes in these like massive arcs and then kind of settles back down. But in the end, like I said, there's a driver trying to turn life around. He ends up dead. De Niro had love and freedom. He throws it away for revenge. He ends up dead. Pacino ends up with a failed marriage. His stepdaughter tried to kill herself. The
Natalie
other gang
Portman,
members are
very
dead.
good.
They had families. Natalie Portman was great in it. Very somber. And there's this shot of Pacino looking off in the distance in the end.
Yeah.
And you could just, you're seeing like, was it all worth it? Like, because like you said, the crimes are relatively pedestrian. You're stealing from a bank. Was it better for that money to not get stolen and for multiple police officers and people to die, or would it have just been better if they'd gotten away with it?
And that's what's so tragic about it, that it really isn't about the money or the crime. It's just that that's the life that he knows, and that's pretty much all he can do.
Joe, I know that you're
you're a Heat guy.
big Heat guy. You have anything to add here?
No, I think it's interesting. The Italian Job was a British movie, and British people typically hate guns.
Yeah.
So
We love guns.
Definitely a bit of a European influence, as well as I think a time influence with the guns, or the lack of guns.
They're cool with like sex stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Not
Well,
violence.
obviously, Michael Caine taught us
Americans
that.
are the different.
He's the coolest.
Yeah, no one here is as seductive as Michael Caine. Michael Caine would not fare very well in the world of Heat, I don't think. He'd be gunned down pretty quickly.
No one is as seductive, but no one in The Italian Job or Heat has a name as good as Memphis Reigns. It's time to talk about Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicolas Cage.
Yes, Gone in 60 Seconds. This is directed by Dominic Sena, who also did Season of the Witch and Swordfish. I mean, they're not. Anyway, Nicolas Cage, Angelina Jolie, Robert Duvall, Giovanni Ribisi.
Best movie, is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, not the best. Although John Travolta's hair in Swordfish is a lot better than
There's another
Nicolas
scene
Cage's.
that stands out in Swordfish to, I think, a lot of boys my age.
A lot
and
of
that
boys
was,
remember.
Yeah, that was Halle Berry.
Yeah.
That was important.
Yeah, it was from the male perspective.
But
the nerdy male perspective.
Anyway, see, this is why Rivers would shut this down quickly.
Yeah. I mean, if we could use probably a bit more of a feminine touch in parts like this.
Anyway, Nicolas Cage, what's his name?
Memphis Reigns.
Exactly, Memphis
What
Reigns.
the hell? Like the most cheesy action movie name ever, Memphis Reigns.
He's a professional car thief who is outcast right now. He is out. He is Mexico, right?
He's
We
in
don't
some
know. He's
generic
somewhere.
desert town.
It's very orange where he is. A lot of dust.
Yes, teaching kids. And that kind of goes back to my thing about the lighting, which we'll discuss.
Yeah.
Very aggressive lighting in this movie. But he's teaching kids how to race. He's out the game.
He's got to come back because his brother is in trouble. He's going to die. It's one night. They've got one night to steal 50 cars. So they've got to get the team together. They've got to get everyone together and steal 50 cars in one night. Which I must say, first of all, the clock, the countdown clock, the seconds, those are not seconds. The countdown that counts down 24 hours, every second is half a second, probably even a quarter of a second.
Yeah, they want to make you feel it a little more. You got to be feeling the stress.
But it was a deet 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 deet.
Like the sands are dropping out of the hourglass entirely too fast.
Something like that. That Nicolas Cage, he is an enigma. He will always be 100 years from now, there will be classes studying Nicolas Cage.
Now, I should say, before we get into why Cage got brought back in, look, let's talk about Cage's brother. Who's the actor that plays him?
Giovanni Ribisi.
He's a great actor. Great at being that kind of guy that you
Weirdo.
love to hate. Yeah,
I love
exactly.
him as Phoebe's brother in Friends. That's my favorite.
Oh,
performance.
I've never really seen Friends. Unfortunately. Also, never really seen Seinfeld. I have a weird
What?
sitcom void.
Me neither.
Big Bang Theory. None of it. I have a weird sitcom void.
Whoa.
In my life. I know. But we're not here.
Yeah,
Talk
you're
about
right,
that.
you're right.
Okay, but so Memphis's brother though. What in the hell kind of wild card moves
I
is
don't
this
know.
guy pulling at the beginning? They have all 50 cars stolen. All he has to do is steal this one car and they're good to go. And not only does this dude decide to throw a rock through the dealership window, which they somehow get away with, no questions
Yeah,
asked.
I was amazed at the ease they were getting cars in the early 2000s. Must have been
Very easy.
Yeah.
There were no cell phones. So there you go.
right.
That explains it.
Whatever that has to do with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, just don't think about it too much.
Okay,
There were no
all right.
cell phones, so that's why I was so
A lot of
Just run
script
to a
meetings
payphone.
probably.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot
Run to a
of
payphone.
script meetings were those words were probably said. Don't think about it too much. Just go with it.
Yes, no, 100%. So he throws a rock through the window, then he ramps the car out. But that's cool. They've still got
Yeah.
away with it.
They
And
got-
then he wants to get into a street race. And that's how he ends up getting pulled over. He leads the cops. All 50 cars get taken. Thus, we arrive at what I believe to be, I don't even know, maybe this guy really is from England, and I'm just the idiot. But this guy, the antagonist English accent
Oh yeah, yeah.
is so annoying to me. I got 4 days. He was like, deliver 50 cars. That's what he kept saying. And I have no cars.
No, this was a very American type of British. Like the way that I feel like about 10 years ago, everyone thought that British people just spoke like people out of a Dickens novel. And
It was poor, dude. But
but that's Doctor Who. He was Doctor Who.
oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
Oh, so
yeah,
he's
yeah.
definitely British.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Oh wow, now I'm all twisted up. Anyway, he needs his cars. He has no cars, and that's when Nick Cage comes back to save the day. And as you said, Memphis Reigns and how Cage portrays him. Cage is so damn good at being weird.
He's just like his face. He uses his face all the time. I feel like this is just his standard. Okay, yes, this scene.
There it is.
This is you can't tell if he's got a gun pointed at him or if his coffee's late.
It's as you said, he's an enigma.
Yeah.
He really is. Now, some of the things that kind of jump out of this movie to me, I mentioned the lighting of it. The entire color palette of this movie is so damn odd.
Yeah.
And it has such an early 2000s type of feel. I almost struggle to explain it. It's like aggressive mood lighting.
It's all over the place.
Thank you. Right. Okay.
Dude.
So I have it written down here. Like aggressive mood lighting background and like extreme colors, not very subtle, harsh in how it changes. Like even within the scenes itself,
This
it'll
is all
be like,
fine.
yeah,
This is a good
yeah,
color.
this isn't
And
bad.
then you go to like orange.
No, but I thought it felt kind of like, and I know it's weird to say, it felt like a poorly constructed Michael Bay movie.
Yeah,
because
Transformers.
oh, whoa, yeah,
'cause
nice.
Michael
nice.
Bay, at least there is some form, and he puts a lot of time into the mechanics of it. This one, it was like there would be at nighttime, everything would be green, and then it would be
Yes.
blue.
Now orange
And then,
again.
like red.
Yeah, like it in the middle of the day, it's orange, which this usually means the sun is setting, but everything looks like the desert whenever.
No, and I think it's like it's obviously at times like the bad guy's place is already always lit in this like kind of puke
Yeah.
weird green, right, to make you feel uncomfortable. And that scene when he's getting away with it at the end, it's that more golden glow. But yeah, just really aggressive stylistic choices that the movie is so over the top that it
Oh yeah,
it
And
pulls off. It kind of works overall.
in the way like the Italian Job was structured around the plot of getting those cars to do those tricks, but I think it still worked. I think the tone still works. This and the car porn in this movie is good. It's well photographed
Yes.
cars, but there's just I feel like everything that's holding it together. The plot, it felt like there was nothing there. And Nicolas Cage is usually fun, and he's still pretty weird in this, but I don't know. He felt like he was on autopilot. I felt like he was on autopilot a little bit in this one.
I mean, you definitely don't get the full Cage treatment. I think some of the time where you get into some of his funny weirdness is when he's playing the rich character in the dealership,
That was
and he's trying to get like the lowdown on some fancy, super exotic cars. I really enjoyed that scene.
yeah.
So I could agree with that though. Then I mean, I saw Wicker Man in theaters, not knowing what I was
I
getting
mean,
into.
that movie sucks more than this one, but Nicolas Cage is fun.
I mean,
He's
they
so much
let
fun.
they let him go all out in that movie.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, so some other characters. Angelina Jolie, I have to mention her because me in junior high thought she was like the hottest girl alive, and it makes sense because this character kind of feels like she was written by someone in junior high. When you're talking about
I'm not sure. She didn't really have much motivation for anything.
Nope, she just really liked Nick
That
Cage.
was paper thin. They probably just realized they don't have a woman. They've got to write something.
Well, she's been working like 2 jobs trying to stay clean. Now she does tell us later that she just gets off to the rush of it. That she ended up leaving because
What is this
it just
hair?
wasn't fun anymore. The blonde, it's so aggressive.
Yeah.
Super the same way that the lighting is aggressive. Angelina Jolie's blonde dreadlocks and blue contacts, because she doesn't have blue eyes like that, right?
I don't think so.
Look at Nick Cage's nothing face. Look at that.
Always, dude.
They said it's going to be another 5 minutes on the cappuccino.
Is that car number 48? Nice job.
I love the. Oh yeah, go ahead. What were we saying? Angelina Jolie.
Oh, I was just gonna say, super aggressive look, the blue contacts, the blonde dreadlocks, but she's still pretty.
Yeah, she is. She
She
is.
looks
Still,
good there.
it's still,
She's a little too skinny now.
yeah. Well, she's in a time check. She looks a little skinny there, probably, but whatever. I mean, whatever. I think once again, while it feels like a junior high character, this whole movie kind of feels like a junior high kid playing with action figures and cars. So it kind of makes sense within the context.
Everything is turned up all the way. Everyone's motivations, everyone's actions. Like if they're the scene wherever Nicolas Cage first meets up with the bad guy whenever they're about to crush his brother, and they like. It's like a 30-second confrontation. They just all pull guns out at each other, and it's like nothing to have a gun pulled at you.
Don't pull a gun on Memphis Rain, son. Memphis Rain snatched that gun up real quick
Yeah.
and had it pointed back at him.
Yeah, he did. But there are a few. Robert Duvall, I thought Robert Duvall did a actually pretty good job. I kind of enjoyed him. What do you think about the cops? I enjoyed the cops whenever
Hapless.
they. Yeah, they were really pathetic.
So they're like, so they basically are on to Cage from the jump. As soon as he gets back in town, he's so famous, which the idea of a famous thief is just kind of contradictory to begin with. But he's so famous that the police immediately are on him like, hey, we know you're back in town. He literally tells him, you don't even need to use a bottle of, what is it, like Clorox, or I don't know, like you can't even use a bottle of air freshener or Lysol in the wrong way, or we'll be on to you. And that's like 5 minutes before Cage's guy Sphinx shows up and blows up an entire car and like beats the hell out of 4 people. Yet they're trying to say that they're on him. Like it was. They weren't very.
I think that's the stereotypical, like in Heat, how it's very convincing. How sometimes the cops are one step ahead, sometimes they're one step behind.
Yeah.
These cops were just so dumb.
They're
like,
very
of
inept.
course. Yeah, the fact that they couldn't figure out, like at the beginning, they pick up this piece of the blacklight and they're like, "What is this?" And they'll put it in an envelope, and then at the end of the movie, they'll be like, "Wait a second," and then they'll go back there with a blacklight, and they're like, "Yes, we got it."
Oh, so bad.
And then I had a real, because I got that was just kind of part. It's a kind of a stupid heist movie, and it is. And but I thought part of it was fun. I liked it more than I thought I would. But the fact that the cop lets Nicolas Cage go at the end, like the bad guy is pointing a gun at the cop, and then Nicolas Cage pushes him off, and then the guy falls in one of the most unrealistic falling.
But I love it. It's a classic way.
Yeah.
It's like a classic bad guy, like, ah!
But then the fact that he just looks at him, and he's been chasing him for years. And he's like, you know what? You're a bad guy. You're a real bad guy. But you know what? You just saved my life. And it's like, come on.
The cop tells you he's in a moral quandary.
And it's
also,
not that
you said
deep
Nick
of a moral
Cage,
quandary.
You said Nick Cage pushed him off. Nick Cage hit this dude with a flying front kick to the face. Like, what an odd move to end the movie on. He didn't punch him. He didn't throw him. He jumped up and like, spider monkeyed him back in the off the I guess down into the pit of doom, the green pit of doom. But
everything about a kid movie.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, yes. It's like when you take your toy and you like put him in the kick position and you're like, and you make him fly through the air. It's the exact thing. But no, so you don't agree with the cop, because they do kind of establish that they obviously have a not always antagonistic relationship when they're dealing with the drug car, which we also have to talk about some of the weird random adversity that the directors just threw in for God knows what reason.
I I kind of would have liked if like he took him in and then like maybe a few years later he'd visit Nicolas Cage in prison or something and they'd be like, but I mean I was not surprised the way it went at all. That was
So if this was a heist movie, you would be the police officer. You just have obviously you have a need for justice.
no, not not even
Were you
that.
a narc, bro?
What?
Were you a narc, bro?
Nah.
No, I'm
we
just
we couldn't know. We couldn't know. I don't know. It didn't sit right with me the way that it went. I loved how much I don't know that actor's name. Delroy Lindo. I loved how much he would like chew the scenery so well, and he was so much fun.
He was
to
over
watch.
the top, dude.
I
He was
wanted
over the
him
top.
to book
a good
Nicolas
point.
Cage and to see him grow a heart at the end. I didn't like it. I wanted to see him bring him down. Maybe even if he like beats Nicolas Cage beats him up when he tries to take him in, and then he's like, that rascal. Like I would have enjoyed that more. But hey,
All
it's
right.
fine. I enjoyed the way that it ended. I loved the last line whenever the car stalls when he's driving away with Angelina Jolie. He goes, "Don't do this to me."
Like, what is that line? It's purely audio. There's
I
no
know.
visual. It was so. It
You know, they
just,
probably called him in and was like, "Can you come in, please, and just film this one
they had
line
to
for
get
the
one
end of the
more
movie?"
zinger. Yeah. So look, this movie's all over the place, and to me, what highlights some of its kind of hobbled together, let's just throw everything in the pot, is what I just referenced, which is some of the random adversity that they hit these guys with, like as if having a gang, a full gang. Well, I forgot the other bad guy's name. What's his name? The gangster. I don't know. So they have a full gang on their back. They have the police breathing down their neck. They have to steal 50 cars in one night. I guess that's not troubling enough.
Yeah,
Let's have the dumb guy of the crew steal a car full of drugs just for one scene when the cop comes in, and then we got to like figure out how to get the cop not to search the car, which is actually pretty funny because they convinced the cop
Yeah.
that like it was a nice engine and it's just like some shitty old engine. But I thought for sure, I'm like, oh, okay, that drug car is going to come into play. Somebody's going to come looking for their drugs.
Yeah.
Nope. No. just
See, this would
never
have been a
again.
really fun movie for. I think if we had all watched this together, this is the perfect movie to just watch and make fun of. Like,
Yes,
so
drink a
much.
beer.
I loved laughing at it. There was the part whenever the cops were shooting at the car, and then they were like, "We got to go to a hospital, man." He's like, "They ask questions at the hospital," and then whenever they get to all their whole group, the first thing Nicolas Cage runs and goes, "What happened?"
Oh my god, dude! And then there's a scene where once again, just like let's just throw another random little speed bump in the way. The dog eats the Mercedes
Yeah.
keys, so then they have to wait for the dog to shit it out. So there's this whole weird side story where you're feeding the dog Ex-Lax, and it looks like they're gonna get jumped, but then they're digging. It was.
The stereotypical Mexican gangsters coming. He's like, "What are
Oh.
you doing to your dog?"
Oh, dude! And by the way, that actor too now though.
Yeah, he's bit Michael
Michael
Pena.
Pena.
Yes.
Pena.
I'm
Yeah.
crazy. It was Michael Pena. Would never known back in the
Yeah.
day.
He's
That
all
was-
skinny and small.
Yeah.
So young.
Oh well, yeah. Look, all the
It does seem like they just recorded a bunch of scenes and just pushed them all in there in the editing room.
Yeah, we'll
floor.
make a
Yeah.
movie in the edit process.
Yeah.
Don't worry
Let's
about it.
also make the second hand move faster.
Yeah,
So
the
it was
guy.
like, oh, dude, what if the dog ate the keys and then they had to fish it out of the shit? What did that? Oh, that'd be hilarious.
That
Like,
was
yeah,
probably
let's
just on
do it.
set. They got that. The
What
writer. That must have been such an easy job for this writer.
I imagine
Who
there
even
was
wrote
a healthy amount of cocaine use on this set. I mean, obviously, I'm just assuming here,
Allegedly.
allegedly, but it has that type of feel overall.
This
I
was
think-
a proto Fast and the Furious. Is how I
Yeah.
kind of felt about this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, let's test all the stuff. Oh, cars.
Oh, so
Those
I mean,
are
we
good.
should talk about the actual action. The action was cool, like you said.
Yeah.
The car porn, the driving
I
scenes,
enjoyed- I
the
mean-
stunts.
I mean, I love cars, and I love watching the way
Oh,
that.
see, I don't
this-
really care about cars. So
Oh,
you're
yeah?
a car guy.
No, I think watching the amount of detail and the amount of time you can tell they went into light certain parts of the car whenever they would break into it, I thought that was fun to see. I kind of wish they did the same amount of work into why these characters were doing what they were doing, but you know that's fine. The car
And
porn was fun.
yeah, I don't think I don't think I almost call it Fast and Furious. I don't think Gone in 60 Seconds worries itself about the why.
No.
No, and then they have the basically you break into a car just by having one random electronic gadget and maybe like another tool of some type. It can be anything, but it just works. They somehow know how to break into every car ever. Anything else in here?
I would say I would put this. It's nowhere near the Nicolas Cage level. Oh,
No, we're good. We're good.
it's nowhere near the Nicolas Cage fun in Face Off or Con Air.
Love Con Air.
But
Con
I
Air
would
is
put
huge
it.
for me.
I would probably put it like a peg or two below Con Air.
I think it was very fun. I don't think it's a good movie. I think that I genuinely enjoyed it. I think one thing I struggled to separate, though, I have nostalgic feelings with this movie. So, like, because I enjoyed it a lot growing up, so I don't quite know if I give it the benefit of the doubt in a lot of places where I'm like, no, this is just a bad
It was
movie.
a sleepover at your friend's house.
Yes,
movie.
Yeah.
yes, the ultimate sleepover at your friend's house. PG-13, kind of risque. Hot Angelina Jolie hopping on the drive stick, and then how about when they're hooking up and they're just whispering about like engines and
Then you got to
carburetors? Yes, dude.
Bam!
I love it
Right
so
there.
much. Oh man.
I did. I got a real kick out of the intro, where that had to be some of the funniest Photoshop that I had seen.
Dude, it's so bad.
It looked like they were on opposite sides of the planet when they took those pictures.
It's so bad.
You've got like
So
Nicolas
what Nathan's
Cage.
referring to, there's family pictures in the opening scene, and every movie does this, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it felt like the Jerry Bruckheimer movie type of thing. Like, it felt like a Michael Bay thing where
Yeah.
you don't have to really set up the fact that you've got a mom and you've got two brothers because you see a bunch of pictures in the opening.
Yeah, and it was. I was okay, so I'm not crazy. So I was wondering if the Photoshop was off on those.
Especially the mom, which I love that actress, Grace Zabriskie. She's great, but that was unfair. How poorly. I mean, it looked like you could have done that with Snapchat. The way that they just. Yeah. There you go. Well, this is actually not
that one's
that
not bad. No, it's ones
But
with
that's
older.
definitely-
It's ones with older Nick Cage, where he's
Yeah.
just kind of standing there with that
Yeah.
same face on. But okay, we can't go through this whole. Before we finish up, we got to talk about the Shelby GT 500.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. That's probably the most emotion and acting that you get out of Cage in this movie is when he's trying to woo the car. That's kind of the unicorn that they set up. So if you're a car guy, I have a question: Is the GT 500 as good out as they make it out to be? Because when I was younger, I thought that this must be like the ultimate car that's ever existed.
Oh no, it is, and in fact, I actually had it. Darn it, I don't have it. I apologize.
Did you look
but-
up a price for it? Like,
No, I didn't. It was supposed to be a different car. It was not supposed to be that one, but
Oh.
yeah, it was supposed to be. Goodness gracious.
Oh, it's a-
Yeah, I
You're
don't.
all,
have it.
well,
I
come.
don't have
You
it.
keep
Yeah,
searching
yeah.
for it if you want. No, I just really like how
The McLaren F1. That was it. Which, if they had gotten that car, they apparently couldn't get it.
Oh, because I was gonna say that seems way more like a unicorn.
Yeah,
Than the GT
yeah.
500.
Which it was still great. I mean, I looked kind of dated, like it looked very much like a 2000 type car.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they had gotten the McLaren,
I just
that
love
would
when
have
he's-
been very.
He's talking
Yeah.
to it, and the idea that this thief could come somehow fail at stealing this car multiple times, but still be out of jail.
Yeah.
What happened? Did he hopped out? He got away? Like I don't entirely know, but there's some line about him like driving it off a bridge or something at one point. I don't know. Okay, so that's gone in 60 seconds. So if you haven't seen it,
If you do love the odd mix of Nicolas Cage having no charisma and filled with charisma, if you love that juxtaposition, then this has that, and it's fun.
that's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, look, I enjoyed it. I would recommend probably renting it before buying it if you want to check it out. But now that we've discussed all three movies, it is time to close out the show. And how we do this every week is we rank the three movies from the ones that we think are not as good as the other ones all the way up until the best one. Overall, I enjoyed all these movies. Like, we have yet to really see a bad movie, which isn't an accident. It's kind of by design. But
I still hated Hocus Pocus, I'm going to say, in my opinion.
Okay,
That
you
was-
hated Hocus
I
Pocus?
I did not enjoy that.
So you liked Halloween Town better than Hocus Pocus?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And I mean, from a critical point, that's got to be bad on me because I'm sure that's just nostalgia that I watched Halloween Town
Yeah.
so much as a kid.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I wasn't actually as impressed with Hocus Pocus either. Then again, I wasn't blown. Look, Gone in 60 Seconds, nostalgic, fun.
I got a lot of laughs out
I
of it.
enjoyed
I'd probably
it.
watch it again.
I would recommend it. It might need to be a few years before I go back to the well, but it's definitely number 3
Yeah,
on my
I
list.
think the top two are the real contenders here.
Okay, so I say we do this a little change up from normal. Instead of us going 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, that was my 3. You did your 3. I'll do my 2. You 2, your vice versa. Okay, yeah, okay. So my number 2 then on this list would have to be The Italian Job, 1969. I think that, like I said, thought it was very fun. I'd never really seen a 60s campy movie like that. It was way funnier than I expected. Loved all the musical touches throughout. The ending was absolutely spectacular. The Britishness of it all. And while I maybe had the best time watching it, when I was sitting down to dissect the movies, I had the most interesting time thinking of Heat, and it's the movie that I'm most kind of wanting to go back to. So what's your number 2?
Well, I've got to say this is gonna be maybe a little bit boring, but yeah, Italian Job is number 2 for me. It's the exact same list as yours, and Heat is number 1. As far as as far as a heist movie, I enjoy the fun of the Italian Job. I can watch the Italian Job back to back. That's how much fun I have watching it, and I think everyone should buy that movie. It's amazing. But yeah, Heat. There's so much going on in Heat. Like I feel like we could just dedicate an entire show.
I mean,
to
we were
talking
going
about
long
Heat.
just
we
on
were.
Heat
We were.
because it's
That-
there's so much to break down.
Just the fact that Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, they were in The Godfather Part 2 together. They didn't even share the screen in that movie, and for them to come together in this movie, just that in and of itself, they're just so epochal being on screen together. And that's not even the best thing in Heat.
Yeah. So look, check it out.
Was that your first time seeing Heat?
That was my. Oh yeah, I guess I should have mentioned that. I had never seen Italian Job or Heat. I had seen Gone in 60 Seconds. So I kind of knew what to expect
backwards. I had not seen Gone in 60 Seconds.
Okay. Yes, that was my first Heat experience, and I will be going back to Heat.
You'll be going back to the Heat?
relatively shortly here. I'll probably get a beer a couple months down the road, chill out, watch it again, because after talking about it, writing, just thinking about it, like I said, it's one of those movies where I felt like it kind of continued to reveal itself to me the deeper that I dug into
And now
it.
this was the third time that I saw it, and I caught so much stuff the third time that I did not catch even the second time. So I'm going to have to go back and watch it again, because it's one of those, the sign of a great movie. You can watch it again and
one of
again and
those
again
great
and always
movies
see new stuff.
that everyone talks about, and then when it pays off, and it's actually a good movie.
Yes,
Like-
exactly. Because I've always heard people talk about Heat, and so the hype was real. I mentioned Guardians earlier, or the second one dealing with the burden of expectation. I had very high expectations for this movie, and it met or surpassed even, I would say, those expectations.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. It's another episode of Real Friends in the books. Our final list for our heist episode, Gone in 60 Seconds. Checking in at number 3. What year was that, Nick? 2000?
2000.
It's 2000. 1969's The Italian Job with Michael Caine. Checking in at number 2. And the De Niro and Pacino in Heat, a 1995 mid-90s classic. I feel comfortable recommending all 3 of these movies in that exact order
Oh, yeah.
in terms of what you should purchase
We
and or watch.
don't know what the next show is, do we? We don't have
Well,
the list yet.
so
right?
no, we do. In this,
Okay.
and we talked about this in passing, but I timed it out.
Okay.
Do you know what will come out? So we do episodes every 2 weeks now. What will come out in a month from now?
Star Wars. Are we doing Star Wars next? All right, I'm good with that.
So we are going to split this up to celebrate the release of Star Wars 8. We are going to do not 1, but 2 Star Wars episodes so that no one has to watch all 7 movies in one go.
And I think we should just leave with this question for the next episode. How is it that whenever Obi-Wan Kenobi becomes a ghost, he is able to sit with Luke Skywalker on a log? How does that happen?
No, it's too early for this. No, I can't. We're not. Oh, I don't even know. I've never considered this. Maybe it's just he's trying to make. He doesn't have
it's a
to,
teaser. It's a
but he's
teaser.
trying to make.
We've
No.
got to
One
come back to
says-
this.
Okay,
No
you're-
one says ghosts have to pass through things in that movie.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to make Luke feel comfortable by being not as ghostly.
Maybe he isn't sitting. Maybe he's squatting just to make him not feel weirded
Yeah,
out.
no,
so that
exactly.
He can
Like he's not actually sitting. He's just kind of.
Can we please stand,
there.
Luke? This is creeping. This hurts.
Okay, so it's gonna be Star Wars. Now, I'm a fan of the machete order, which is like 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. So that's the order that will go in. I'm not sure where that midway cutoff point's gonna be for next episode. Any thoughts before we hash this out?
Wait, I'm sorry. We're doing.
So I like to go 4, 5, then 1, 2, 3, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Because then right after you get the big reveal, you go back to the prequels, then you have, the Jedi, and then you're into Force Awakens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. No, we're not doing Phantom Menace through to.
No. So my question is, though, in terms of our episodes, where should that cutoff point be? 4, 5, and then do we go 4, 5, and then
Why not
1,
4,
2?
5, 6?
So this
I
is
guess
so
I'm
this
confused.
this
I
is
don't know
where it
what-
gets odd. Okay. So this is what we're gonna do. We will update. I'll update everyone on
Yeah.
Twitter. We'll figure it out because the machete order. See what it is.
4, 5, 1.
Yes. So
4, 5,
you go 4, 5, and then right after you get the big reveal. I don't know why I'm like protecting Star Wars spoilers like they're a thing, right?
Everyone knows.
Okay. So right after I am your father,
Right.
then you're like, oh my God, that's Anakin Skywalker. Boo! And then you get the story of Anakin Skywalker. And then when you go back to Jedi, time has passed. You understand that Han's been in kryptonite what you call it? Not kryptonite. You understand that
Carbonite.
Han's been in carbonite for a couple of years. You understand that
Yeah.
Luke's been out there training his skills. I'm telling you, it's an enjoyable way to watch.
That would. Yeah, that's a good point.
So I'm thinking maybe
No,
4,
I'm good.
5,
yeah.
1, 2.
We should. Yeah, that's.
And then 3, 6,
What's-
7, which is going to be crazy because that means we'll hit prequels. I kind of like that. We'll hit prequels, we'll hit original trilogy, and we'll hit new trilogy all
Yeah.
in the second episode leading up to episode 8.
Yeah, that'll be pretty good. What's
Can we go
worse?
see it as a team? As a
Yeah.
We
group of
absolutely
friends?
should go see it as
Do y'all
real
have
friends.
tickets? Do y'all have
I do
tickets
not
for
have
The
tickets
Last
yet.
Jedi?
It's something that I'm trying to not to admit because I know that
And I'm sure
lot of-
I'm sure we all know that there's going to be another trilogy that's been announced recently. There's going to be
yes,
another one after
yes,
this.
Ryan Johnson signed on to
Yeah,
write and
exciting.
direct the next movie in this new trilogy, but really to also set up the building blocks for new trilogy, which I could do a whole nother episode about whether or not like I like that in terms of like
We could have
that
put
kind of
Rogue
world
One in here
building.
as a heist movie. That would have been pretty cool.
oh, Rogue One is a heist movie. That's a very good point. Do we put Rogue One in the mix?
I
don't
mean,
think
yeah,
so.
I think let's maybe a garnish. We can have it
No,
as a
we are
garnish.
doing.
that we'll come to.
Maybe you can reference it, but we are doing the core Skywalker trilogies.
Yeah,
The
let's
trilogy
do that.
of trilogies. Okay, so that's it. So I got a little long-winded at the end. We hope you enjoyed the episode. I am T-Bob Abear. Thank you, Nathan
Yeah, I'm
Velasquez.
Nathan Velasquez.
Thank you, Joe Rodriguez, doing all the production work. Rivers, we miss you. We love you. You'll be back next episode. Everybody have a real great day.
Very good.
Uh-huh.
Very good.
Great day.